Also, relatedly, on the China call, online business records suggest that the first son still holds a 10% stake in a Chinese investment fund. Is it possible to have basic transparency there on whether he actually divested that stake or not?
So your last questions, I would refer you to his representatives. That's not something that I can speak about from here at the podium.
Why is there a voicemail of the president talking to his son about his overseas business dealings if the president has said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings?
Well, first I'll say that what the president said stands. So if that's what the president said, that is what stands. And secondly,
about a New York Times article concerning Hunter Biden's business dealings, and he says, "I think you're clear." How is that not him talking to his son about his overseas business dealings?
We're not, from this podium, I am not going to talk about alleged materials from the laptop.
So are you disputing that it's the president's voice on the voicemail?
I am not going to talk about alleged materials on the laptop.
Are
it's
you
not
disputing
happening
then that it is not?
Peter, I refer you to his son's representative.
All right, guys. So as you all should know, the GOP has opened up an investigation into Joe Biden, specifically involving his business deals with Hunter Biden, who is his son, in which the president of the United States could be compromised by foreign governments, foreign entities, which is a national security issue. Now, if you guys remember, the mainstream liberal media denied this, right? They said it was Russian disinformation. Okay. And later on, this so-called Russian disinformation was confirmed to not be Russian disinformation. After it became very clear that that laptop did belong to Hunter Biden. And along the way, the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, has been asked about this Hunter Biden situation multiple times, in which she has refused to answer. Those are the clips that I showed at the beginning of this video. However, she was asked again just a couple days ago after the GOP announced their investigation into Joe Biden. Now that it's undeniably true that the Hunter Biden story in the laptop is real, and she went into word salad mode. Take a look.
And the top Republican on the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Comer, has said that he's investigating the president's involvement in his son Hunter's foreign business dealings. Looking for your reaction to that, and then on the merits of the allegations, can you address whether the president was involved in any of his son Hunter or his brother's foreign business dealings?
So look, there's a little bit of interesting, kind of on-brand thinking here, because congressional Republicans ran saying that they were going to fight inflation. They said they were going to make that a priority. They were very clear about that these past several months. And instead, what they're doing is they're focusing, they're making their top priority. They get the majority, and their top priority is actually not focusing on the American families, but focusing on the president's family. They're not coming up with solutions on how we're going to lower costs for American families. They're not coming up with solutions on how we're dealing with issues that matter the most to American families.
Yeah, so classic deflection. Well, but the Republicans aren't solving inflation. Well, here's the thing. You guys, the Democrats, when they had the House under Trump, and after Trump left office, you guys didn't complain about wasting time in the House impeaching Trump twice. They both failed. You guys had no complaints about using time in the House for the January 6th commission, which was BS. You haven't found anything. There's no proof that Trump conspired to overthrow the U.S. government. None of that is actually true. You had no problems chasing it and wasting time on that stuff because you used it as a smear campaign against the president to achieve a political goal. Now the GOP is giving you a taste of your own medicine. And again, it's not like anything that the GOP proposes in regards to inflation. It's not like Democrats going to agree to it, right? They're pretending like we're going to get on board with whatever they propose. No, you're not. You're not going to. But I hope they do propose something. But regardless, what they're mad about here is the fact that they're getting a taste of their own medicine. That the Republican Party is investigating the Democrats the same way that the Democrats went and investigated Trump. But the difference between the Democrats and Republican investigation is that this investigation is not a witch hunt. It is actually a serious national security issue that the American people should know about. Like, this is a legitimate investigation that is not a waste of time in Congress. It's actually legit, and it should have been investigated when it first came out. But because it wasn't investigated when it first came out, now we have to take up time to do it. But it needs to be done because the American people need to know about this, right? They need to know about it, that the president of the United States might be compromised by foreign entities. Okay, again, that's something that the American people should know about. And see, this is why these investigations are important, guys. This is actually the Republicans being smart here. Again, they should at some point propose something when we're talking about fixing inflation, right? I'm not going to try to relieve them of that responsibility. They need to, right? They campaigned on that. They need to do something. However, I don't have a problem with this. And the reason why I don't have a problem with it is because it achieves a goal that has been elusive for us on the right, which is making the mainstream liberal media discuss the hypocrisy of the left and the corruption of the left, which is something they try to avoid doing at all costs. Okay? Remember, they don't want to talk about this Hunter Biden story, but the GOP investigating it is actually making them talk about it, right? I'll give you a great example. CBS News. When Hunter Biden's story first came out and Trump, in an interview with CBS News, talked about the Hunter Biden story, they claimed that it was Russian disinformation. It's not true. Take a look.
I think it's one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen, and you don't cover it. You want to talk about...
Well, because it can't be verified.
You want to talk about insignificant things.
I'm telling you.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found the laptop. Leslie.
It can't be verified.
What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Why do you say that?
Because
even the family hasn't... The family on the laptop, he's gone into hiding. For 5 days, he's gone into hiding.
He's preparing for your debate.
Oh, it's taken him 5 days to prepare? I doubt it. Okay,
all
go
right.
ahead.
So,
it can't be verified. It can't be verified. This is why we're not talking about it, because it can't be verified, right? Just like the Russia collusion thing couldn't be verified, but the mainstream liberal media chose to talk about it anyways. Well, why is that? It's because it benefited Democrats. It was anti-Trump. So they roll with it. They didn't care whether or not the Steele dossier couldn't actually be verified. It couldn't be corroborated. The mainstream liberal media said it could be, right? Just to find out a few years later that it was all bunk, okay? Who would have thought? Trump PP tapes is bunk. Which, by the way, I want to remind you guys that the current leader of the Democrat Party, the new leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who's taking over for Nancy Pelosi, is an election denier. He spread conspiracies about Russia that have been proven to be false. And the mainstream liberal media did a fawning interview with him and did not ask him at all about his history of election denialism and making false claims about the 2016 election, but lets him get on his high horse and talks about, how the Republican Party is a party of election deniers. However, he has a history of doing the exact same thing.
There's a cloud of illegitimacy hanging over the White House right now. Russia interfered with our election for the exclusive purpose of trying to artificially place Donald Trump at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. He wants to continue to play footsie with Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump's going to continue to stand for Vladimir Putin, and that's shameful. They're under criminal investigation in terms of the Trump campaign's possible role in colluding with Russian spies to attack our democracy. Clearly, in Texas and throughout the country, want to make it harder to vote and easier to steal an election.
Yeah, so this guy was never asked about his claims in his interview with CNN this weekend. Never asked about that, okay? Never asked about that. But let's get back to CBS News, because 2 years later, after the midterm elections, by the way, CBS News is coming out here and waving the white flag and saying, hey, we independently could verify that this Hunter Biden story was real.
And as Republicans take control of the House, Hunter Biden, the president's son, will be a target for investigations. And that means data from a laptop reported to belong to Biden could be crucial to the investigatory process. CBS News has obtained its data not through a third party or political operative, but directly from the source, who told us they provided it to the FBI under subpoena. And we commissioned an independent forensic review to determine its authenticity. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Harridge joins us now with what we found. Catherine, I'm very interested. Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. These House Republican investigations are coming, and that could be a challenge for the White House as we head into 2023 and 2024. The laptop data we had analyzed showed no evidence it was faked or tampered with.
Digital forensic investigator Mark Lanterman was previously a member of a Secret Service electronic crimes task force.
There was one thing that got my attention, and that was a voicemail.
It's Dad. I called to tell you I love you. I love you more than the whole world, pal. Gotta get some help.
That voicemail, apparently from Joe Biden during his son Hunter's drug addiction, is one of many findings Lanterman used to authenticate what is believed to be Hunter Biden's laptop data.
You're confident, based on your analysis, this is Hunter Biden's data and that it's real?
Yes.
This Delaware computer shop is where the laptop's backstory begins. Their records indicate in April 2019, Hunter Biden took his laptop in for repair, but never paid. After 90 days, the store considered it abandoned. Then in December 2019, the FBI subpoenaed the store's owner to turn over the computer and a portable drive of its data.
Whatever happened to Hunter?
During the 2020 election, versions were widely shared by Republican operatives, including Rudy Giuliani.
We have the entire hard drive.
But questions were raised about whether additional files were added to those versions. Then candidate Biden labeled the laptop controversy disinformation.
What he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
CBS News approached the lawyer for the computer repair shop owner to cut through the noise.
We've always had one clean copy.
And obtained a copy of what he says they provided the FBI under subpoena. Then we went to Minneapolis for an independent analysis.
Were you paid by CBS or anyone else to analyze the data?
No.
No.
I wouldn't want anyone to think that someone bought our opinion.
Around the corner, it'll lead you to what we call our imaging room.
Lanterman and his son, Sean, both digital forensic experts, recovered images of credit cards, a driver's license, social security number.
Just the sheer volume of what we're dealing with, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to fabricate.
And explained how files built up over years.
It accumulated over time, which is consistent with normal, everyday use of a computer.
There's some reporting about folders being added.
We have read these articles. We don't see that. So I believe that that's because we have a more pristine copy.
Clear his name?
Two of Hunter Biden's former business partners, including Tony Bobulinski, who received the email, told CBS News the 10 held by H for the big guy is shorthand for 10% held by Hunter for his father. After the email became public in 2020, the author of the email told the Wall Street Journal Joe Biden was not involved. The author has not responded to CBS News' questions. Mr. Biden has consistently denied knowledge of his son's work or financially benefiting from it.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business.
Last month, Senator Chuck Grassley wrote this letter alleging bank records and financial data showed that Hunter Biden and the president's brother profited from a $5 million wire from a company connected to CEFC, the Chinese energy firm.
They're going to look at every part of the Joe Biden administration.
Doug High is a Republican strategist.
A lot of this is also going to be aggressive on Hunter specifically. We're going to hear a lot about the laptop. Who profited? Was the law broken? Was it not broken?
After 2 years of scrutiny, the laptop has not produced evidence President Biden directly benefited from his son's business deals.
If there's dirt there, that will dirty him up. If not, those attacks can backfire.
Yeah, so I want y'all to understand. CBS could have did all this investigative journalism when the story first came out. But instead, no, they chose to go along with everybody else, right, in the mainstream liberal media, including CNN, to say, oh, it must be fake. It must be Russian disinformation because it came from Rudy Giuliani, right? That crazy guy, right? The crazy lawyer, Trump lawyer. It can't be real. It can't be true. Steve Bannon, Giuliani, some other guys that, you know, are conspiracy theorists. Can't be true. Just for 2 years later, for them to come out and confirm that all of it is true, and none of that stuff was tampered with. When it was clear and obvious that the stuff was true, when they was pulling out images of Hunter Biden with prostitutes and smoking crack, right? I mean, that's not something you can just fake and make up. Clearly, it belonged to him. Clearly, it's true. Journalists, real journalists, would have investigated, right? A legitimate news outlet like Fox News actually investigated it. Tucker Carlson did an interview with Tony Bobulinski. Oh, Tucker Carlson, another conspiracy theorist. He was ahead of the Tony Bobulinski thing before everybody, right? He was on top of it. All of this stuff was out there to be investigated and verified before the 2020 election, but the mainstream liberal media chose not to do it. Well, why is that? Because their arm of the Democrat Party didn't fit the narrative. It would hurt Joe Biden. Joe Biden would be shown to the American people as a compromised individual, right? It might help Trump get elected. Again, ain't it funny how also CBS News waits till after the midterm elections to actually come out with this? Could have came out with it before the midterms too. Nope, chose not to. It took the GOP actually looking into it, launching an investigation because they now had a House majority for them to finally release this. Again, an investigation that they probably did a long time ago, folks. They did this a long time ago. They already knew it was real. They just sat on it until it became convenient for them to put it out there and to try to save themselves as a legitimate outlet. Look, see, we already covered it. Trying to get ahead of the investigation because the American people, the people who don't know about this, a lot of people don't know about this on the left. A lot of people have no clue about this. Now they're actually going to find out about it, and they're going to be wondering, wait, why didn't we hear about this back before the election? Why is this the first time I'm hearing about the fact that the President of the United States could be bought and sold by China? He could be influenced by China. That is a national security risk. Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? And they're going to look to the mainstream liberal media and be like, well, why didn't you cover it? Well, because there was an attempt to cover it up. They didn't want to cover it. They didn't want the American people to know about it. They lied the same way they lied about the Paul Pelosi story. Again, it's unfortunate that it's come down to this in politics, but Democrats have figured this out a long time ago. If you open up these BS investigations and witch hunts against your political opponents, you force the media to cover it. And if the media is covering it, regardless of whether or not it's true, the mainstream liberal media is already biased in favor of liberals. Okay? So they're going to cover it in the worst way possible for Republicans, right? If you do that, again, it sways public opinion, right? Democrats figured this out a long time ago. Now Republicans are giving the Democrats a taste of their own medicine. And Democrats are going to cry foul, but this is what they signed up for. Again, I hate the fact that politics have come down to this instead of actually legislating, because this is what they actually should do. But in this case right here, guys, we have a whole lot of corruption to clean up. Again, the Paul Pelosi story. The DOJ wrote a story that's false. They wrote a story in which they completely left out the fact that Paul Pelosi opened up the door, right? Which would have changed the whole narrative of that story that, hey, Paul Pelosi wasn't in distress. He wasn't actually in trouble, or at least he didn't indicate that, which would have opened up a whole lot of questions. That would have made these so-called conspiracy theories a lot more legitimate, right? DOJ just straight up lied. And the mainstream liberal media ran with it and created their own conspiracy theory that the guy was a Trump supporter. So when you have that level of corruption and collusion between the government and the media, you got to clean it up. You got to expose it. Because otherwise, if you don't, you're just going to let the Democrats continue to do it to you, right? They're going to continue to do it. They're going to continue to get away with it, and they're going to continue to win. Again, I hate the fact that it's come down to this, but it has come down to this. These investigations are necessary. Because if you don't do it, if you just let it slide, Democrats don't give a damn, man. They're going to go after Republicans. They're going to use everything in their arsenal. If Republicans continue to hold back and say, hey, we're not going to do the same thing they're doing, Republicans are going to lose. They're going to keep losing. A lot of people are simply uneducated about the corruption of the Democrat Party. They don't understand because the mainstream liberal media has refused to cover it. They don't understand that the Democrat Party is a party of election deniers. They've denied basically every election since Gore lost in 2000. They're the party of political violence. And they're the party of, again, covering up stories that don't fit the Democrat narrative. They're liars. And the American people need to know that. That they're covering up corruption. That the President of the United States could be compromised by foreign entities. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.